There we go. Good morning. Oh, thank you for coming. Let's see. The Gospel of John begins this way. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. So we have in this beautiful beginning, really, the foundation of the Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, the Word, was with God, and the Word was God. All things were made through him. Without him, nothing was made that was made. So everything has been made through God the Father and God the Son. He is the life. He is the light of men. And the light does shine in the darkness. The darkness does not comprehend it because the darkness is not in fact real. It can't, it doesn't comprehend anything. It is merely the denial, the absence, the lack of light. And yet what is pure light, what shines everywhere, must be there, must be within, must be visible in a sense. It can be seen, and we have not only seen it, but we have chosen to see it. We have chosen that that it be shown to us, and we learn fully as we focus our attention and our efforts that it is in fact God. It is in fact the Word that has dedicated itself to see us thoroughly, top to bottom. Let's just, to see us in our wholeness and to show that wholeness to us so that we may be lifted out of this semi-conscious shadow dream of unreality that is concerned with the happenings of the world, the earth, and all its minions. I'm talking about the price of gas here. All of the problems that are out there, we've simply chosen that those not be the central focus of our lives as they were before. Who amongst us has not gone through the stage of an attempt to master all of the darknesses, all of the problems and the lacks and inadequacies through a sheer force of will, that we have learned how things work, and we now attempt to leverage our lives to save us from all of the pain and to protect us, in other words, while attempting to shore up and store away all the good that might be ours, possessing, seizing, and possessing. And there is finally a recognition after great expenditure of effort, after years of sacrifice in performing duties and discharging obligations and attempting to develop more rights, more powers, that there still must be a greater power that is not ours to seize, but ours to share, ours to be a part of, and in fact, join with that power, that its great efforts, that its overwhelming effort might be used to bring peace to our own troubled and conflicted mind, that we may find that place of rest, that high tower, that citadel of protection and peace, and finding it, spend a moment there. I want the peace of God. To say these words is nothing, but to mean them actually does matter. It does mean something. It is significant. When you bring that modicum of sincerity, sometimes born of great desperation, inevitably born of a discontent with the world and its life as it presents itself. We come to a place, we draw our circle, we determine that life must be more than this. This much we've learned. This world, this is not life. There must be more. Life itself must be greater than this place of birth and death, this quick, this transient passing through, this all the journey to the river Styx, to be born across. There must be more than this. Indeed, if there isn't, this life is hardly worth living. And certainly many of us have felt half-hearted about living this life. Now comes Christ Jesus and says simply, consider the lilies of the field. Consider the birds of the air. Yet not one falls, but your Father knows it. Your Father knows you through and through. And that place of desperation, that place of attempting to leverage your powers into a greater position that never seems quite to be culminated into a state of peace, that very place, this is judgment, isn't it? It's that place of judgment. Is quite satisfied. Christ comes and offers peace to you. Not undoing, not attacking that sense of judgment, but allowing you to simply skip past all judgment to the place of peace. Judgment, as so long as you use it, cannot reach it. You cannot reason your way to a state of peace, not unless you start from a place of peace. If you start from a place of peace, peace is inevitable. If you don't start there, you can't make it, except that using conflict and the recognition that you cannot use conflict to gain peace. This is a peace that passes all understanding. This is a peace that is more vast. It is greater, a larger heart, a larger soul, a firmer place to stand, a longer pole. And having this, a pole with a place to stand, you can move the earth. You can move the earth in the sense of all of your ideas, your dedications and attachments to living on worldly terms can be shifted. In other words, they cannot withstand the power of peace. You can disrupt it. And we have all tried that. Attack and defend. This we have tried, and yet, try as we may, it remains unsatisfactory. It's unsatisfactory because it requires an immense and continuous expenditure of energy just to maintain your place, just to tread water, to keep from going under. And we've all dipped below the surface a few times. It almost goes without saying, but I'm saying it. We've all dipped underneath the surface a few times. Well, a great challenge to recognize that you have yourself been mistaken about who your source is and what true power looks like. Power does not need to defend itself. All power is so over-encompassing in your sense of all and everything that it is concerned with nothing but to give itself to all. This is the all in all. To know peace, give all to all. It is worth something. A peaceful mind is not a little gift. It is worth something. Having had the opportunity to sit at the great table, the great for the great feast, the great festival, to eat in the company of saints, to know no concern, even for a moment, knowing that you have done your best that is enough. Your best hasn't accomplished this, but having done your best, you may be at peace now. Nothing more is required of you. This does not take time. Time is available simply to allow you to go through the moment of purification. That is, and what is purification except to look at your own thinking, your own ideas, your own concepts, and to recognize that they are not in alignment with themselves. You are not in alignment with them. The greater alignment, the greater harmony, the greater equilibrium is one in which no thinking is necessary, because peace gives itself, and it is whole, and it is real, it is true. It lacks nothing. It gives everything. This is the focus, finally, the seemingly distant goal of our entire Course in Miracles. This is the promise of all the love songs ever written, all the deep philosophical poems, Rumi, Hafiz, all the great ones, the great teachers. When he says, consider, I need do nothing, he is inviting you to join willingly and happily into a state of peace. That is the understanding. When you come back from your state of peace, you're free to develop a theological philosophy that explains how you got there and why you're back. If that's what you want, you can do that. Will that be the truth? It can never be the truth, because the map is not the territory. Only someone who has been to the territory and draws his map and comes back can really understand fully, completely, deeply, that the map he brings back is not the territory. It always what? It leaves something out. You always, finally, you leave yourself out. Why? Yourself is, you yourself is all-inclusive. That's the only way you can reach a state of peace. If you were not all-inclusive, peace would elude you forever. But the time is now. You can relinquish that which a moment ago you thought was essential. What is the seeming essential or quintessential property except the very specific thing you just went looking for and couldn't find? It's missing. You forgot where it was. You misplaced it. Somebody took it. It got lost. It's unavailable. And suddenly it has mounting. importance in the moment that you need that lost thing, that missing piece. Well, that missing piece is what? It is the peace that passes all understanding. It is the wholeness of your own mind. Finally, that last missing part of your mind is what the early Christians referred to as the pleroma, that thing that, if added to any individual, would bring them from where they are into wholeness. That's the missing piece. Salvation is the recognition that they have come. In other words, the pleroma, the thing that you were individually missing, that now is present. It is available to you, and it is you. And you can stop looking. You can't or have to. It's available. Now on sale. Accept no substitutes. Come one size fits all. Little Madison Avenue there. Everything you thought was denied to you, you have denied yourself in the failure to admit that the littleness of your awareness could never be satisfied unless you allowed all of your mind, which is a great deal larger than the limited awareness that you normally and habitually employ. Bring it all in. Bring in all of your consciousness and everything that is unconscious, but which is implied by the idea of simple faith. Faith is the idea that there's something more, although you don't know what it is. There is something more. Individually now, there's more to you that you have denied. Your faith will show it to you. It is, and simply the only requirement is to simply let that which you are aware be stilled for a moment, and to invite that which you are unaware of to come to you and have its effect on you. And this can bring up a great deal of fear if you, based on the lack of faith that you had employed a moment ago when you thought that your only power was based upon what? Your awareness, your consciousness, your reasoning, your logic, your understanding, your knowledge. There is a greater knowledge. There is a greater reasoning, a surer, firmer point of reference, a greater foundation. And yes, it is outside of your awareness until you're simply unwilling to accept the limitation of your own awareness as satisfying you. When you do that, when you invite that of which you are unaware and yet you know exists to come in to your mind and have the effect that it must have upon you, it will do so. This is what they call courage. This is the courage to experience that which is outside of your everyday, your habitual life. It is the recognition that what you know is not knowledge. It's just what you're familiar with. Yes, you're familiar with getting up in the morning. You're familiar with making breakfast. You're familiar with all the daily things in which you engage. Everyone's an expert on their own life in that sense. But there is more, and it is available, and it awaits upon you because it gives all of itself all the time to you for what? Your experience. It wants to be experienced. And when you when you escape the blinders that you walk around in, remember how they put blinders on horses to keep them from seeing things out of the corner of their eye and spooking. When you let go of the blinders, you've made a decision that you're not going to be spooked. You're going to see it all. You're going to let it in and do so without fear. Fear not, for I bring you glad tidings of great joy to all men. This is, and these are the herald angels. They're telling you Christ is born. He is born in you. And for those who have dedicated their lives themselves, their willingness that they themselves be consumed by God, the consuming fire. For those, they will have and do have an experience that is not of this world. It is from beyond. It is greater than themselves. And it is a marvel, a wonder, a miracle. It is incredibly joyous. It is dynamically peaceful. And it does extend forever and is seen as always available, even when it's denied. That, in fact, is extremely maddening when you know it's there and yet you're in active denial. I don't deny that I spend time that way. I simply confess that is not where I live, and that is not where I want to live. Even when I think that I do, I know that peace is available, and to spend an hour in sustained conflict, 2 hours or a day, it's almost incomprehensible. If I hadn't just gone through it, I would say it is inconceivable. We've been there. We have done that. We now have seen our way out and are glad, more than glad, but joyful, having had the ecstatic vision that that is not our destiny, that we may have been led directly into fear, but we have not been left there. We have a comforter. We have a goal and a means to get there. And that has been provided to us. And individually, when you see that, you recognize that it must be available to everyone. There's no other way. Let's face it, if it could reach you, if it could be available to you, who could there possibly be that is beyond the love of God? He is the all in all, the ultimate holy hologram of salvation, of wholeness. This is the meaning of our instantaneous journey to heaven and wholeness. It does not take time, and it does not require distance. In fact, it is the negation of time and the annihilation of place, because you recognize that you are home in heaven, in his peace and comfort, counted as one of, literally, of his angels, of his flock, of his perennial, eternal, immortal wholeness and love, completely culminated in the simple act of being in his presence. What else is there for you to do? Where else is there for you to go? And yet, if it seems like we go anywhere, this vision we take with us, because we have seen ourselves as Christ has seen us. We have known ourselves as God the Father knows us, and recognize we are one with him and with all that ever there could be. There is no place that he is not. There is no time that managed to elude his eternity. You have not been left comfortless. You are in his company. You are his family, his extension, his home itself. Here's just a couple of words from Jesus. The atonement is in time, but not for time. Being in you, it is eternal. What holds remembrance of God cannot be bound by time. No more can you. Listen, for unless God is bound, you cannot be. An instant offered to the Holy Spirit is offered to God on your behalf. And in that instant, you will awaken gently in him. In the blessed instant you will let go all your past learning, and the Holy Spirit will quickly offer you the whole lesson of peace. What can take time when all the obstacles to learning it have been removed? Truth is so far beyond time that all of it happens at once. For as it was created one, so its oneness depends not on time at all. Truth was created all at once. Peace is the Big Bang. The beauty of the paradox that what is all peaceful, what is the celestial home of heaven itself, has been by science described as the Big Bang. The Big Bang is this. It is the Big Bang of peace. It is the Big Bang of love. It does go on forever. It does embrace you entirely. It permeates and surrounds. It makes a place. This is Rock of Ages cleft for me. It makes a place within itself for you to find comfort and to hide yourself away, in a sense, of letting go the attachment to what is unending conflict. You don't have to stay there. It is available. It does call to you. It gives itself to you, and yet you have counted it as nothing, as if the littleness of consciousness could possibly be the delineation that marks the totality of all God's gifts to you. When you know that he gives himself to you, and he must be beyond the vicissitudes of the limitation of your consciousness. You're happy one moment, you're unhappy the next moment. Oh, you have great abundance. Oh, you are in lack. Oh, there's something good. Oh, that bad is there. I have to avoid it. God must be greater than that. If he's not greater than that, he's just one more entity that is somewhere on the spectrum that is looking for as if God could be looking for ways to feather his nest. The very meaning of his being is that he is constantly and only extending himself to all creation. Now, and on that note, we're going to just leave the door open, okay? So it doesn't rattle. Thanks. And on that note, let's see. Oh gosh, how do I do this? On that note, let us Let us join in the Lord's Prayer. The wind comes through and rattles the doors, so we'll just leave them open a little bit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom
Thy kingdom come.
thy will be
Thy
done
will be
on
done
earth
on
as it
earth
is
as it
in
is
heaven.
heaven.
Give us this day our
Give
daily
us
bread,
this day our
and forgive
daily
us
bread,
our
and
trespasses,
forgive us
as we
our
forgive those who trespass against
forgive
us.
those who trespass.
And lead us
And
not
lead us
into
not
temptation,
into
but
temptation,
deliver us from evil.
and deliver us
For
from
thine
evil.
is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever.
and ever.
Amen.
Amen.
So,
Rashmi's gone.
yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow. Ah.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Everything has been given you by God's decision. This is His will, and you cannot undo it. Even the relinquishment of your false decision, making prerogative, which the ego guards so jealously, is not accomplished by your wish. It was accomplished for you by the will of God, who has not left you comfortless. His voice will teach you how to distinguish between pain and joy and lead you out of confusion you have made. There is no confusion in the mind of the Son of God, whose will must be the will of the Father, because the Father's will is His Son. Miracles are in accord with the will of God, whose will you do not know because you are confused about what you will. This means that you are confused about what you are. If you are God's will and do not accept His will, you can only be not accepting what you are. But if your joy is what you are denying joy. The miracle, therefore, is a lesson in what joy is, because a lesson in sharing, it is a lesson in love, which is joy. Every miracle is thus a lesson in truth. And by offering truth, you're learning the difference between pain and joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So, yes, here we are flashing in and out of existence 40 million times a second. Giving ourselves the illusion of continuity. It's wow. It is always a new discovery. It is always going beyond the frontier of habitual living. You become a frontiersman. You literally go into what? The unknown, the wilderness. Okay, remember that? The wilderness? Jesus went into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. What do you find in the wilderness? Well, you find peace if you look for it. There's no one to disturb you. You're confronted with yourself. You can draw your circle and take a look at who and what you really are. In fact, every time you draw your circle, you are literally embarking on the journey without distance into the wilderness of your own psyche. And every time you do it, you cannot help but clear your altar a little more. You make yourself more willing, more ready, not really that you make yourself, but you do become more understanding of the importance of letting the light do the work and allowing yourself to be recipient of its consequential effect on you. Did I say that right, or did I?
Yeah, yeah.
I might have said that. I think I said it right. Maybe not. It's good. After a few dependent clauses, your sentences get to a point where they no longer they take on a life of their own, and sometimes get away from you, if you know what I mean.
You know, Greg, the word wilderness really, I don't know how I can connect it, but it rings true with this one paragraph I found in the teacher's manual this morning called patience. And I initially thought patience, that's a nice that's a nice sounding word, and it's a tough teaching. And it's like it's literally comes back to, am I willing to let truth be true, or do I want to hold on to my ideas of the world and what I am? And where is the real peace? So I'm going to read Patience from the teacher's manual. Those who are certain of the outcome can afford to wait, and wait without anxiety. Patience is natural to the teacher of God. All he sees is certain outcome, at a time perhaps unknown to him as yet, but not in doubt. The time will be as right as is the answer. And this is true for everything that happens now or in the future. The past as well held no mistakes, nothing that did not serve to benefit the world, as well as him to whom it seemed to happen. Perhaps it was not understood at the time. Even so, the teacher of God is willing to reconsider all his past decisions if they are causing pain to anyone. Patience is natural to those who trust, sure of the ultimate interpretation of all things in time. No outcome already seen or yet to come can cause them fear. So I stand in the wilderness of the world that I've put out there. and patience is actually trust. It's knowing truth is true, and there's nothing that can assail that. Ever has or ever will. But when you think you're in the middle of it and you have the slightest thought that it might have something true in it, it's like you don't comprehend the light. But it doesn't change anything, and I love that. I love that. If I stand there and be patient and trust, it will be shown. We will all see. We will see clearly face to face. That's a promise that was, is, and will be kept. I don't know how to do it in time because it's always. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. The difficulty as we get closer, the difficulty is getting the concession from the conceptual mind that the conceptual mind is already in its own state of equilibrium. It is getting what it wants. Although the conceptual mind is determined that it wants to get something else. It has found a lack, and that, of course, because you can't control, You can't, you can't control your own mind. This is why there are no small upsets. As soon as you're upset about one little thing, that is going to grow. That is just going, that has its own, it takes on its own life because you're giving the power of life to it. And it has to go somewhere. And so when the conceptual mind has done that, and it is in conflict, it has only to entertain the possibility that that is its own state of equilibrium, having started from a place of determined lack. It has created its own conflict. And therefore, it has a part to play in receiving salvation from an idea that is outside of its realm. Okay, this is pulling down the walls of self-containment. This is opening the prison door. Although the feeling is one of the prison, the jail cell as being the domain, the realm, the kingdom, there is so much more. There is simply so much more. This is Jesus. This is wholeness. And as you undergo your transformation, patience certainly, as you begin to entertain the value of patience as a virtue, you recognize that infinite patience will bring immediate results, and you just might try infinite patience one of these days. Why not? Calendar, I'll pencil that in my agenda, and I'll get to it one of these days. And you know what? You do get to it. Finally, what have you got to lose? You've got nothing to lose. What could you lose if peace was yours? And yet, what is there that you could not give, that you cannot give? You have this to give now. Pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps, give that which you would have to give if you did have it, and you will see that it's yours to give. See, that's the jump starting the engine of your salvation. I don't know if that really came across, but my God, you guys are just beautiful. You know that? Just beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You don't even know it. Just take a look at yourself. It's incredible. Wow. So we have something. Do we have a celebration? Yes, we have a reason to celebrate. Salvation has been given us. We have discovered, strangely enough, it has been revealed to us the means of salvation, that we let go, that we do nothing, that we receive, that we declare God in his kingdom is whole and perfect, and we gladly submit ourselves to the wholeness of his judgment and his love. We ask for that experience, and it is given us. We want the peace of God. So thank you guys. Thank you so very much. We finally got in touch with the folks up in Minneapolis at the Lake Harriet Center. And so we're cooking up an event up there. You're all invited, by the way. And we're looking forward to it. We don't have a date. We don't have a time. We don't have a schedule. We don't have a flyer. But presumably those things will show up or not. We're waiting with bated breath to see if anybody even shows up, including ourselves. So it's all terribly exciting. Please, let's see, how do I do this? Ask all to unmute. Please join in the declaration of perfection. I am God's
I
son,
am God's son,
complete
complete
and healed and whole, shining the reflection of his love.
in
In
me
me
is
is
his
creation sanctified and guaranteed eternal
guaranteed
life.
eternal life.
In me
Me
is love perfected, fear
Fear
impossible, and joy established without opposite. I am
and
the holy home of God himself. I am
I
the
am the
heaven where
his love
resides. I am
and
his
holy.
holy sinlessness itself.
No,
For
For
in
in
my
my
purity
My purity
abides
is
his own. Whoa! Who knew? Who even suspected? That's that would have to, it would be a miracle if that were true. Holy smokes. So let's cross our fingers and hope for a miracle. What do you say? Thank you. Thank you guys for coming. God bless us, each and every one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you.